All right, let's do a little live stream. Welcome back, Corked Stats NFL edition. Fastest show in football, absolutely. Anywhere, with your boy, yo, Big Johnny Stud. All right, getting ready to jump into the pointer, I think it's called. This is one of the smaller field underdog best ball drafts, but you gotta love these bitches. They're always so top heavy. Let me just get the screen going. Of course, nobody's market is more liquid than Underdog. They don't pay me. Maybe they should. Let's get the board up and running. And again, this draft is going to kick off in less than a minute. Okay, I've got to just figure out how I'm sharing this. Ah, there we go. And I think we're off and running. Here we go. What do I got? It looks like I got the number 10. Follow me up on Twitter at John Legaza Flow. Sharper than the damn razor. I'm going to hide the names, protecting the identities of the innocent. You follow me on Twitter at John Legaza if you're into baseball. We're doing that thing also on the Substack. If you hang around till after the draft, I'll show off some of the tools, uploadable, color-coded ranks and projections in season, optimal 150s, all types of fantasy stuff, waiver wire ads, and again, baseball, hot and heavy, round the clock. I'm the dual sport legend, baby, baby. I've been crushing football content, and, sometimes I think it's maybe advantageous to not be as popular as the market makers. There's certain guys out there that once they start to talk and make good points, the market starts to move, and like it should. But if you know anything about markets, have been playing fantasy, betting, or trading, or any of that shit, markets tend to react. They tend to overreact. And that's where I think our edge is going to be this season. Now having played best ball since its inception, kind of having made all the mistakes you can make. Not, you know what I mean? Not like, oh, and I'm going to win this large field thing now. But I've made the roster construction mistakes. I've made the, low volume mistakes. I've made the. I guess this falls into the roster construction bin. But the mishandling of the onesies. So I think roster construction is such a big deal in best ball that there's multiple ways to screw that up. Let me make my second pick and we'll get into that. So in one, you need to know your format. I play on all the different ones. Underdog is 18 rounds with playoffs, 12 team. Draft, it's also half PPR. DraftKings is 20 rounds with playoffs, 12 teams. That one is full PPR. I've also been playing at drafters.com. They play 20 rounds, but it's roto, which means, there's no playoffs. It's just all the points you can score. I think they're all three wideouts with a flex. So I think that part is the same, but you get the extra roster spots in the 20 rounds. But again, that affects the decisions downstream. I always feel better about 20 rounds. I think it's because I generally take more conservative and balanced approaches. That being subsequent effective, those mistakes that I mentioned before. Overpaying, I shouldn't say overpaying, paying the premium for the QBs and the tight ends. And especially in the 18 round format like Underdog, then not taking a third player at that position. And if a guy gets hurt, even for a couple weeks, your team may be asked out. So, as a general rule, I'm kind of getting away from that. So, I think at least in the 18 rounders, I'm really not taking Allen in the second, Josh Allen in the second. Brock Bowers and Trey McBride both went in the second round this one. I don't think I'm doing that. I think there's enough parity at tight ends. I don't love the tight end field, but I like the tight end field. Give me Tucker Kraft where he's going, plus whoever I can get in the second round, opposed to, McBride especially, where I worry about the, ecosystem. I guess he's proven to be environmentally proofed, but it's definitely scary. We've definitely seen the floor for that Arizona team. I think Brissett will be back, and they'll at least be back to where they were second half of the year. But if the defense improves at all, and if the running game improves at all, it's possible they're just not going to have to drop back 60 times a year, and you're going to need that volume. Extending further into the pass catcher room, with everybody healthy, I think, we've seen Wilson go nuts. He's never really done it with Harrison and with all three of them there. I do think McBride is number one, but I think the whole pie might be a little bit smaller than maybe people are anticipating. So I'm just trying to go more balanced. First two rounds, I'm either leaving with 1 and 1 RB wide receiver, or I'm leaving with 2 running backs. I don't like to go in with hard, definitive stances, but having done a shit ton of drafts already, those are the ones that come out, my favorite. I ended up going with CeeDee Lamb at the 10. I think he's a steal at the 10. He does everything. That's a prolific offense that also throws near the goal line. He moves in and out of the rotation. I grabbed Kenny Walker on the turn, pick 15. I think he could be going, ahead of JT or CMC. We know how valuable that role in Kansas City can be, and I think he's going to catch passes. I was a little risky. Maybe I went a little out of ADP. I went with McConkey to 3. I'm really high on McConkey, and I just haven't gotten enough of him. I could have taken Higgins there. I probably like Higgins over McConkey in a vacuum, but again, you play enough of these drafts. I've been getting a lot of Higgins. Higgins has even fallen into the 4th a few times. I'm in the 4th. I've been flip-flopping to so many 4th-round picks I like. Now I'm going to go again with the guy I've been getting not enough of, and that's Luther Burden. For the Bears, I've been taking Loveland there. I've been taking Egbuka in that spot over guys like Garrett Wilson. And I really like Terry McLaurin there, but you got to take him over guys like Jameson Williams and even Jalen Waddle. I mean, I love the 3rd and 4th round is just full of players I think could be going in the 2nd. And I wonder, as ADP keeps shaking out, I wonder if we're going to see a little bit more of that. I wonder if I can zoom in one more time and keep everybody in the frame. Yeah, it looks like I was able to do that. Cool. Now I could see the draft board without squinting. For whatever reason, the maximized draft board on Underdog doesn't fit in the base Chrome, whatever. It's stupid. First world content creator problems. But anyway, now I could see it. So this is a team I love, though I don't want to call it like my B players, because I like Lamb. I don't have a ton of him. I probably have more Amon-Ra when he falls there. I like Genty at 10. He was already gone. I love Walker in the 2nd. He's my favorite 2nd round pick. I love McConkey. Check out the Twitter handle. It's my name. I did a whole thing about McConkey. Search them in the timeline. I think he's ready to break out. Hopefully Keenan Allen doesn't come back. I think Burden could totally pop. All the efficiency stuff is crazy. And they're going to be designing looks for him with another year under Ben Johnson, all the continuity and stuff. That's how I like. That's what I like a lot. And it's why I'm kind of off of rookies generally. The speed of the game, continuity and chemistry, repetitions, I think matter more than anything. Everybody in the Bears kind of finished healthy, and they finished strong. You could get a huge breakout from them. Very hard to put together the big 3 for the Bears. I was able to do it. I might have been able to do it just now. I would have had to go over McConkey for Burden to go Burden and Loveland and hope that Williams falls. If you have that as a plan, I think you can do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you're fucking overpaying. That's to me, that's the biggest fucking bullshit. Guess what? ADP is determined by people who are mostly wrong. Bingo, bango, you know what I mean? You got to be willing to challenge ADP, especially when you have a build in mind. I've been thinking about maybe doing some guest stuff. I got to see if I can get some of the big brains up in there. Some of the winners. People like to hear from the winners I like to hear from the winners. Well, one, they've won, but again, it's a large field. It's like hitting the lottery, you know. They tend to be really opinionated and super smart. And, you know, now they've got the cash to get back and do the volume and put their opinions out there. I was listening to, man, Chess Liam had something cool, and I fucking got derailed. Oh, yeah, it was about narratives. I wanted to say the word narratives because I'm on the clock again. Let me make my pick. Love Jadarian Price anytime. Anytime I can get him in the fifth when I don't have a second running back in particular. I think Price is stepping into a winning scenario. I don't know. People are, listen, you could, a couple things before I tie myself into a fucking Gordy knot. One, Charbonnet ripped his ACL in the playoffs. I don't do the injury optimism thing. He might be okay later on. I don't know. You're missing me with that. You're just missing me with that. There could be setbacks. You're not even getting him at a discount. I think Price has a chance to be great out of the box. Also, people are like, you know, now everyone is pushing up freaking Helani. And even that, I think, he's really kind of unimpressive. He did earn their trust by getting playoff looks, and I think there's something to that. But yeah, you're missing me. You're missing me with that. You're missing me with that shit. Price is a first round prospect type of guy, and he was blocked. Like, to me, that says a lot, and I'm not a prospector. I don't pretend to be. I know I mentioned not being so much into first-year players. The continuity thing matters more with pass catching, right? That battery with the quarterback, where running backs, you know, it's a little bit easier to adapt. You know, the ball getting fed directly to you. Anyway, I want to mention narrative and what Chess Liam was talking about. And he said, like, oh, people kind of knock telling yourself, oh, you got to tell yourself a story to make a draft pick. This is what he said. And my immediate thought was, you got to tell yourself a story. He follows it up with, but you've got to tell yourself a story. And I was like, yeah, for real, man. And he's 100% right. You have to draft these things as if you're right. This is the big mistake I've made in the past. I'm glad that came up. So when I mentioned my mistakes I've made in the past, that's been it. Somebody like Adam at ETR, again, I don't give a fuck. You know, I promote people. People that do good work, they put out content, they deserve the fucking flowers. Adam and the ETR guys will talk about, you know, drafting with 2 condoms on. Can't do that. You know, you want to be safe and smart. You want to wear 1 condom. You don't want the HIV. But you don't want a double condom. You gotta get out there, gotta fuck. You want to feel it, right? You know what I mean? You want to fuck, you want to win. And you gotta cash that check. You can't be too safe, and this is not the game to be too safe. And what I mean is, you should always be thinking, let's go Facha Brute the fucking big nose. Match up the view there a little bit. You got to draft as if you're right, because once you put your draft capital into something, you have to move on to the next thing and fill the next bin. I've made the mistake of, let's say you draft running backs up front. You got to leave that shit alone. If you draft 2 big running backs, you can grab a third if your assumption is the flex, but you should not take a 4th. You can't be paying premiums for guys that could be getting zeros. That's pretty much like bottom line. You know, that I really feel strongly about, and that's a mistake that I've made. Now, when you hear it said out loud, you may be like, yeah, big fucking whoops, stupid. You know, but again, these are mistakes we make. You know, you're in these draft rooms. They move really, really fast if you follow along. You see, you know, we're already in the 7th round. It's just been a few minutes. I followed up my Burden and Price pairing. I'm sorry, I followed up Burden and McConkey, sorry. I mean, Burden and, right, it was, Lamb and Walker. Sorry, I followed up Price with Drake May. He was out there. Sorry, I twisted myself into a bit of a knot. So, May, I have as one of my top-ranked quarterbacks. I have him as, like, easily could be the QB3, QB4. I think he stands alone because he runs. Now, I would have taken a bunch of guys, but I think if you're really lucky, you know, to be getting a guy of that quality in the late 60s. Now, I'll be fine going to, you know, your Daniels there, your Herbert, your Hurts, I think you really want at least one of those guys. Notice I say one, and this goes back to the argument I made about roster construction. I think quarterbacks are being a little undervalued in general, and there's a huge drop off. Plus, there's tons of injuries. I think you want two of the guys that you could safely project in the top 12. And it's very difficult to get that in these rooms, again, because of the way the pricing has kind of consolidated. I whatever, you call it a reach or you want, I just grabbed my second. So now, again, now with my brain rot out of the way, I have a second to do the damn thing. So I went Lamb, Walker, balance, right? I went McConkey and Burden. Again, you need 3 wideouts and you want the full-time guys. There's a massive dropout in wide receivers. Also not knowing to tie in all the arguments. Once I fill the 3rd wideout, I could back off it for a little bit. I'm hoping for a guy like Price or Tootin, maybe even Swift, hopefully not Judkins, to be the guy that I get in the 5th. I got Price that I like. Then it's time, once you're in the 6th, to think about QBs. Again, I like May a lot. I took him first. I'm fine with Daniels. I don't like Burrow as much as the standalone, to be honest, because he doesn't run. But he's awesome. I'm not trying to shit on Joey Burrow. He's the fucking man. So I went May. I come back and I filled him with Kraft. I think he's another one of those guys that really could pop. They're saying he's healthy. They move on from Dubs, and I think they're going to be looking for a shorter to intermediate target. Kraft is an absolute fucking stud. If he starts going and lighting up the preseason, he's going to go flying aboard. You're not going to be getting these prices later on. Then I went back. I was thinking about Mahomes. He got clipped on that short turn. Remember, I'm at the 10. So I went with Jackson Dart. Again, standalone guy who could run. You could also put together some giant pairings later on, namely Isaiah Likely. I like the late QB tight end pair. I've been going with Willis and Dulcich late. I've gone with some Dart to Likely. I know that's not so much late, but it's there. And sometimes you even can get like a Stroud to Schultz. It's not pretty, but it's something because I'm drafting 2 QBs in the middle blob. I'm out now. You can only get what you get, and you don't get upset. My 3rd QBs are more like a Geno Smith. I'm getting Fernando Mendoza because the thinking is May and Dart have to fucking do the work. Again, draft them like I'm right, but not too right, because I think that is a mistake that people are making. They're taking May and saying, "Oh, I only need 2." I think that's a mistake. We'll see if I'm wrong. But I think the draft capital is balanced in a way that I could feel confident in. Now, I've only got 2 running backs. I would love if Kenny Gainwell falls to me here at the back of the 9th. I think he's going to challenge Irving. He's always challenged for work. He's a major danger. Man, I also have my eyeball on Harold Fannin. If I didn't have a tight end, I would go there. And, man, all right, I'm going to hope that Fannin falls. None of the guys between me don't have a tight end. I usually wouldn't have played tight end chicken, but I really like Gainwell, and he's on the move up, and Fannin is on the move down. I think there's some injury stuff. It doesn't sound major, and I'm not really getting too concerned with stuff. If you had off-season surgery, those are the guys I'm worrying about. Fannin went on the turn, as he should have. That was a good pick, made by the gentleman on the end there. Could be a lady, who knows. But I feel much better having locked up Gainwell, because now Walker and Price, I think, every week. Gainwell is a guy that could chip in at the flex, right? He's outplayed guys wherever he's gone. I'm not going to beat myself up over Gainwell because he's a guy that I really do like. Now, it's too early to go with the likely pick that I mentioned. He might not make it back to me, and I just kind of have to deal with that. I'm looking at, you know what? I was kind of looking for more like a game breaker potential in Casey Concepcion. Going for the draft capital, could be the lead target earner in Cleveland, as shady as that situation is. But I'm going to look to connect my quarterback and go with Romeo Doubs. Again, it's really not like crazy shit. Since I have a second, let me show off a little bit of the tools. I can't bring them up because it takes it too long to flip back and forth. I don't want to fuck up the stream. I could show you at the end, but what I can do is, hop to it and show you even under the gun, if you have a 60-second clock, you can go and do some cool research. We've got total points and points per game. So this is Romeo Dubs, over 165 points for the year, over 10 points per game. He had zero point 0.4 points per route and over 1.25 points per target, right? I really like the efficiency stuff. You get all that for every player, and this stuff updates in real time when the season progresses, right? So you'll have last year, and I always update and add stuff for every year. I don't go back to update. We'll deal with that another time. 74% of routes. He was a full-time route guy, over 400 routes. Earned 85 targets, caught 55 balls for 724 and 6. This is all really good, and he really wasn't a focal point. Remember, New England moved away from Diggs for now, at least. They need somebody to soak up targets. Dubs had over 20%, nearly 21 target per route, over 1 3/4 yards per route, over 13 yards per reception, nearly 68 air yards per game. You like that, man. 19% of the team targets, over 26% of the team air yards. There's a lot to like here. He's going to work mostly exclusively outside, right? So the ceiling is capped, but he's an end zone guy. He can work intermediate and work deep. And again, we've seen him succeed in the end zone. I think when you have May, I think Dubs is a strong pick. I'm not looking to isolate Dubs if you really get caught because you invested very heavily in running backs. I think he's perfectly cromulent pick, but it's not like a guy that I'm overpaying for. You know what I mean? So Dubs, like with the connection, right, with that kind of connective tissue, I'm all about that shit, like 100%. Sign me up. Or I'm getting ready to come back up in the clock again. I've got 2 QBs, 3 running backs, 4 wideouts, and a tight end, right? I was talking about balance. I'm tempted to go with Malik Willis here. I probably shouldn't. I'm going to go with Likely if he falls to get that other connection. I'm not sure he's going to make it to me. The guy in front of me needs a tight end. He's probably going to go. So there goes Willis. Now I'm expecting Likely. I always expect to get fucking clipped, and I did double clip on my picks here. I probably want a running back. You know, I like Diggs. I like to look for guys that could move up the board. I think he's going to. He had a really strong season. After that, the tight ends are really kind of meh. I'm going to go with Diggs. Again, I think Diggs moves up at least a round or 2. We could do Diggs on the board. I'll churn through some of that advanced data in a second, all that stuff that you get when you roll with us. And if you're into betting, I've got really great betting stuff, really great team level stats, and really good team differentials. Nobody does that shit. And if they do, they charge a lot of money for it. You know, EPA per play differential and yards per dropback differentials and explosive play differentials and like a lot of stuff that really helps with handicapping and pace and efficiency stats, all the shit that really matters. If you're interested at all, check out the Substack. There's a link in the description, and you can look for free. There's like the pin post is all the stuff. It'll show you everything that you get. I'm not trying to sideswipe anybody. It's fucking $2 a week. I'm trying to give the normal person a leg up in the information war. All right, we're back on the clock. I should have thought a little bit more about that second pick, and I didn't. Oh, man. All right, I mentioned first round picks. I've got Omar Cooper keyed up. I don't really like anybody here. All right, that's what I went. I went with Cooper. Not really my cup of tea. I know he's a Jet. I'm going to try and backdoor a Jet stack here. Man, I already have 6 wideouts. I usually cap at 6. Maybe with Kraft, I could just stop at 2 tight ends. We'll see who the next one, if I get somebody that I like, falls. The guys that I really like were all gone. You know, I've been liking Andrews, Kincaid, or Likely as my tight end too. They were all gone. So I've got a couple of my eggs in the Kraft basket, and I'm not feeling good about capping at 2. Ken Walker, Price, and Gainwell. I kind of caught myself a little bit with my balance trick. I should have paid a little bit more attention. But I'm looking at the board. It's not like there's anybody I really, really wanted. I kind of like Gadsden, but they brought in Njoku, and I kind of like Okonkwo, but I like him more with Jaden Daniels because honestly, we've never really seen Okonkwo go nuts. And I could have built the stack to Henry, but like you're overpaying for Henry. I'd rather have the pop for Cooper, who could kind of go nuts, and I'll just take my medicine later on. I'm not really sure. Now, I had mentioned Diggs. We could do that really quick. Stephen Diggs had a monster year. You know, he had over 210 fantasy points, over 12 points per game. Ran almost 420 routes, earned over 100 targets, racked up over 1,000 yards. Caught 5 balls a game, 6 targets a game, almost 25% target per route, almost 2.5 yards per route. These are like elite numbers. Someone is going to bring him in. He earned deep targets too. It wasn't purely in the slot, though he did really dominate in the slot. Caught everything near him. Coming off that knee injury, I thought New England was investing with him for this year. So it's possible he comes back. They definitely could. They brought in A.J. Brown, went out a little Stefan Diggs underneath. That would, totally fucking kill my Dubs shares. But, Patriots obviously have their eyes on the prize and looking to win. I need some running back help, but I tried to get worked up about it. This is the mistake I've made in the past. Drafting RBs early, not that that's a mistake, but drafting RBs early and then panicking in the middle. Oh my God, I got to keep getting guys. I even went and got my third guy with Gainwell, so you're not expecting one. I could probably even wait a little bit more. I need a little tight end love, but they're not very good. The next guy is Sadiq, and I'm like, geez, now I'm like going to be all in on these stupid Jets. Draft rooms are really starting to sharpen. Now, I may take my back door. I'm probably going to with Mendoza. So I am going to draft Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq is my second tight end. And maybe I catch lightning in a bottle with one of the damn Jets. Now man. I don't know. I'm going to be playing a little bit of ADP chicken for Geno, but I don't know if I could overpay for Geno Smith. I don't feel like that's a winning strategy. I'm going to let him fall to me. You know what I mean? I'm going to let him fall to me. This is a spot I would normally take Mendoza, but I kind of painted myself into a corner here. Now, I had kind of shit on Charbonnet, but since I have Price and I'm feeling a little short, maybe I do get the end of year love. If the pricing goes really right, then I'm not really worrying. Oh, the price is right. Look what I did there. Oh, boy. Oh, and I had like the... Yeah, I can't beat that. So this draft went a little bit sideways for me, but, that's going to happen sometimes, especially on the ends. And as drafts sharpen, you have to be prepared to think on your feet as all the good picks go. There's already been 2 or 3, maybe 4 instances already this draft where I've said, oh my God, I feel like I would have gotten my guy doing the hand rub gif, and he doesn't get there, right? You get double, triple, quadruple snipe, and now you're, on the clock, not really knowing what to do, like it happened to me before. Again, so I always like to default to talent, like when I'm shitting myself, and I'm not really sure, I'm normally defaulting to talent. I also could have done a better job filling my queue, which is a good piece of advice. Now, players that I like to come down with be Geno Smith and Adonai Mitchell to get the Jets super stack. I have to decide if I think Kraft and Sadiq are enough. Again, Adonai would make 7 wide receivers, so I can't do my standard 3-6-6-3 overly balanced. And Geno makes the third quarterback. I wonder if I should even abandon the Jets thing, but I'm a Jets guy. Would be nice to see them explode. And if it happens, those would have to be the pieces to do it, right? Man, a couple of my other favorite picks on the board are coming up. Tank Bigsby being one of them, I think, direct line to Saquon, and I don't have Saquon, and I like that, right? Where you're not backing him up, where if Saquon goes down, Bigsby was incredible, the Eagles block, and they intend to win. He could be a monster pick. So it looks like I would have to pass on Mitchell. I have a ton of Adonai Mitchell. Bigsby just went. I'm back. I'm back in the game. Man, Sean Tucker is there also, and I could try and corner the market on Tampa Bay running back stuff because I'm not a Bucky Irving guy. Geno goes before me. Yikes, man. When everything goes wrong and Mendoza is gone as well. So maybe the market answered my questions, and I'm just going to go with the 2 QBs. I'm going to grab Tucker, Sean Tucker here, half a round after ADP. I already have Gainwell, and I feel good. Like, I'm not a Bucky Irving guy. I think he's too expensive. I know they're saying he's healthy. He effed me last year. Again, that shoulder stuff is a really rough injury for running backs. I know we always think about legs. I'd prefer an ankle to a shoulder at this point. All the impact on those shoulders, constantly getting slammed on it, just constant shit. And again, he got hurt and he was out, missed so much time. So yeah, I think May and Dart, fair enough. And that also makes sense with my argument building before, where I was stressing having the draft capital dictate the roster construction. And I knew that I was going against grain a little bit, paying for that second QB up in those middle rounds. So if that's where I have to make my sacrifice, I think that really works with the plan. Whereas I could have easily said, all right, maybe I should cut, because this was my thinking, maybe I should cut the third tight end because they're more likely to hang, not say hang zeros, because I think there's good tight end production late, but to get that really low score. But because I waited on Kraft, had I drafted even Colston Loveland early up front instead of Burden, then you can cut it 2 tight ends. But I think I made the right pick, the right decision in the construct of this draft. I don't know if I love this team, though. As it's going, it's starting to feel a little bit better. Quick recap on the team. May and Dart at QB, right? They both run. May is explosive. You bring in the big weapon with Brown. Plus, I have the Dubs connection. I feel okay about that. Running backs, my guy Ken Walker. I think he could blow up. Price with the Seahawks, who we mentioned. Tampa, I have the Tucker and Gainwell trying to get the monopoly behind Irving. If he has a setback or something goes wrong, both of these guys totally pop. Plus Charbonnet behind Price, kind of getting them, hopefully the monopoly piece on Seattle. I don't know if I'm going to take a third Helani piece. It's not like he's explosive. Tucker is a different kind of guy. As a third running back, he's one of the few third RBs I would take. One, we've got the Bucky questions, but also he's explosive. The wide receiver room looks really fucking thick. It's going to have to carry the way. I'm expecting the majority of my flexes to come from here. CeeDee Lamb, Lad McConkey, Luther Burden, that's Diesel. Romeo Dubs are the connection to May. Steph Diggs, Omar Cooper, and Adonai Mitchell. I've got way too many Jets to not have Geno Smith, but such is life in the big city. If the Jets passing game is going to have to go nuts here for me. But, my Jet stack in the late weeks, that's my thing. Let me see. There are much better content creators that have already memorized the fucking playoffs or whatever. Let me see what the Jets playoffs looks like. Oh, yo, come on, this is good, right? Jets are at Arizona, which is good. Their defense was terrible. Then they go to New England, and they're home. They're at Arizona. They're home for New England, and home for Minnesota. Minnesota defense has been pretty awful in years past, also. So maybe that's a circus game. And then tight ends, I've got Kraft and Sadiq. My late round tight end sleeper this entire time has been Michael Mayer, actually, with the Raiders. Both guys between me have 3, so I could grab my running back, and I think I'm going to go Marshawn Lloyd. They're saying he's finally healthy in Green Bay. He's also a direct backup to Jacobs, who also has some uncertainty. You see, I just get to stack the chips in my favor, put myself in a strong probabilistic scenario, where things can go right. We don't know if they're going to, but to me, that's the best way to do it. I'm feeling good about this team all of a sudden. I'm like I said, I'm going to grab Mayer on the way out. Now, in really deep leagues, like the 20-round leagues, my guy Ian over at Fantasy Life was tweeting about, oh, shit. What's his name? The backup tight end on Cincinnati is healthy, Eric All. And they said he's fully healthy and he's getting a lot of love. Now, I know they do have competition for targets with Gesicki, but we've seen Gesicki just lose playing time because he's not a good blocker at all. So definitely something to think about in the really deep league, especially if you're building Bengal stuff and you want to get unique in the last round. So just like that, the draft is over. We go Kraft, Sadiq, and Mayer. It's a little shady. I'm going to need Kraft to be good, but again, you got to draft as if you're right. That's how this game is played, and legitimately, that's how it's won. I feel really strongly about that. Something I'm trying to clean up on my way out. So that'll do it, everybody. Really do, appreciate you. Well, I guess if you have hung around, check out the screen up on YouTube. Audio people could jump over to the Corked Stats YouTube channel. Check out the video section has football. The live section is where all the baseball stuff is. And I'm just going to briefly kind of flip around all the tools. Again, you get best ball. I have Underdog. I also have DK. These are both uploadable. And then, a couple of stats. The draft clocks move a little too fast. I don't think you should be doing a lot of research. I jumped off and was able to show you how you can see some stuff, but especially with Underdog down to 20 seconds, you kind of need to know what you're doing. So both of these are uploadable. I update them every day or so, maybe every couple days right now. Yours update in real time with mine. When we get closer to the season, I'll be tracking the big risers and fallers, right? So it's, if you look and you're not going to know what changed, I'll log that stuff, who moved and why. And then I mentioned the team level stuff, really proud of this. I've always been a better by nature. So I think this stuff, again, I think it's the best team level data, the quickest snapshot, everything formatted, 90th and 10th percentile, success rates, EPA per play, drive distance, scoring success, explosive play rates, rush EPA, defensive rush success, yards before and after contact, per rush, of course, 20-yard rushes, explosive rush rate. Passing side, EPA per dropback. I'm only doing some of these. Passer rating, completion allowed, pass per game, yards per reception, yards after contact, 20-yard completions, tackle success, splash plays, which is tackle for loss, batted balls, third and fourth down stops, turnovers, right? Not just turnovers. Turnovers alone are great, but we want all the good stuff. Hurries, hits, and sacks per game, blitzes, and pressures, plus that conversion rate. All the slot stuff on both sides, offense and defense. EPA in the slot. Are they playing man? Are they playing zone? Where are they good by EPA? Too high coverage rates. Those are really effective when you're looking for tight end stuff sometimes, and slot rates for catch props, because I also do that because I'm a prop guy myself. Quarterback rushing yards. RB receptions per game. Wide receiver receptions, because I like reception ladders. If there are props that you want to see racked, I'll add them. Door swings both ways. All the player stuff you can handle. In this stuff, it just goes on and on. If you're looking up quarterbacks and all the advanced stats you'd want, I'm just scrolling across. It goes on and on and on. Running back specific, on and on and on and on and on. Of course, receiving stuff for running backs as well. Same for the pass catchers, on and on and on and on and on. I am burning the candle at both ends. Remember, there's this equivalent for baseball also for less than $2 a week. And the differentials that I mentioned. These are the most important thing for betting, in my opinion. EPA per dropback differential, EPA per play differential, yard per attempt. It's the stuff that tests out the strongest. So, all right, that'll do it. Thanks for checking out the show. We're new but mighty. Somehow made it to, I think, 760 some odd subscribers. So smash the like button. Appreciate you. Leave a comment. I will get back to it. I'm just trying to grow this channel the best that I can. So I appreciate the interactions and the comments, like, subscribe, and all that stupid shit, because it matters more than it should. So, from all of us here at Corked Stats, thanks for picking up what I'm putting down. Enjoy the games, enjoy the day, and when we're done with the book, enjoy the pay. Remember, when you work this hard, the winning feels a lot less like luck, yo.